Hello everybody, today we're going to be talking about an orchestral template in 2022. Do you still need one? And if so, what is the best way to put it together? And the reason I'm talking about this now is recent libraries have been emerging with massive numbers of articulations. Does that change the game? Should you be putting aside most of the spring to rebuild your template just so that it sounds that 5% better? Maybe is the answer. Okay, let us just remind ourselves before we go any further of what the normal approach is. Okay. The traditional approach is for a really big film template. Okay, so let's have a little look at this. This is the kind of thing I used to do. Now, if you look really carefully at the top there, you'll see the number of tracks, 1,368. That seems an awful lot. Yes, it does. And the reason you have all those tracks is because, quite simply, as you go down this, you have above the line, you've got all the groups and everything else and all the kind of stems and all that kind of thing. But as you go down, each, you see, we have a contact incident there with woodwind. So half-tone trill, whole-tone trill, flutter tongue, half-tone trill, etc., etc. So you go down, you've got every single articulation is on a separate MIDI track. Now, this has a lot of things going for it. You load it up and it's going to sound, because it's all pre-balanced, it's all going to sound great straight out the box. It's really good for complicated routing where you want 5.1 stems and lots of this, that and the other and groups. And you don't have to faff about with key switches and all that kind of thing. If I want, okay, I've decided I'm going to play, I don't know, let's go down here. On my French horns, I want cuivre, then I just go onto that track. I don't have to suddenly go in and start messing about. Okay, this works best when you're using an external PC or Mac or whatever, slave computer to host all your samples, because then you can have hundreds of gigabytes all stuck there going like this, and you can even run things like the reverbs and stuff on the slaves, which is really great because that means it's not chewing up your precious CPU. Okay, this is still a really viable, good way to go, and the way which I think probably the majority of mainstream sort of film and television and games composers work. However, there are a growing number of people who are working in different ways, and the reason is if you take libraries like VSL, which have literally dozens and dozens of articulations per instrument, and increasingly, I mean, people like Berlin and even Spitfire have, you know, some of their libraries have got massive numbers of articulations. You simply can't have one MIDI track per instrument because it doesn't make any sense, because you then have dozens and dozens, you know, you would go to, you know, multiple thousands, which is completely barking mad. So how are we going to resolve this? Okay, let me show you a new project which came out of that Christmas thing I did, where I was playing with a Synchron orchestra, and that has the template set up in a very different way. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. Okay, so what we've got here is a template which has, and let's have a look at the top there, roll of drums. How many have we got? 227 tracks, which is still quite a lot, but it's a lot less than whatever it was, 4,628,916. And this is currently using less than 20 gigabytes of RAM. So my normal humongous template used 90 gigabytes or more on a good day. The more I put into it, it was kind of like, And I kind of wanted to get back to something a bit simpler, which ran on one machine, which this does. So this is 200 tracks running in 20 gigabytes, and it sounds great. What I've done, you know, I was doing that Christmas thing, and I started thinking, actually, you know, one of the problems with this YouTube lark is I sit here and I go, and I turn out a piece of music and go, bah, that's it. And it's like 20 minutes later and I've moved on. Pieces of music don't take 20 minutes to write. And particularly sampled orchestration takes a bit more than 20 minutes to get it to sound really So, okay, so I spent a morning writing a piece of music, and then I spent the best part of a day doing all the kind of tweaking nonsense that goes on to make it sound great. And I did that as a series of tutorials from cradle to grave, literally writing the tune all the way through to the final piece for my master students. So there's like 5 or 6 hours of it or something. Anyway, poor people. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. The point is that if you spend a bit more time on it, then you can come up with something which sounds pretty damn good. So I'm just going to play this through, and I'll let you watch the timeline as you go, so you get some idea of what's going on. So let me just put, I tend to organise my template in sort of score order, broadly speaking. So up the top we've got all the woodwinds, then we've got all the brass, then we've got all the harps, percussion, choir, and then we've got all the strings down the bottom. Now what these little white lines are where things have been muted, and the blue lines are audio. So what I've done is I've bounced quite a lot of stuff out to audio, and I'll explain why in a moment. But let's just enjoy this little Christmas moment. This must feel a bit weird. This must feel like me coming and giving you, oh, here's some Christmas pudding in the middle of January. No, we've just been through all that. It was, Okay. Maybe you like Christmas. Maybe you want perpetual Christmas. No, just no. If that seemed like a good idea, get therapy. Right, I'm going to put headphones on and enjoy this with you. Okay, so let's have a little listen. What I'm going to do is I'll play back the mixed version, which is down here, but I'll show you the MIDI as it goes through. So actually, I tell you what, I'll turn off. You can just watch the instrument tracks. There we go. Right, so what we'll do is we'll run through from the beginning in all its glory. Ho, ho, ho. Let's have a listen. Right, okay, now I'm reasonably pleased with the way that turned out. What I would say is a couple of things. So what I've done, my basic approach with this is to say, right, if I can't have individual tracks, how am I going to organise this? So what I've tried to do, let me just see if you can see this close enough. Let me just get that so you can see it properly. There we go. Each instrument, rather than just have, there's an approach where you say you just have one track per instrument. One track? Okay, don't do that. Okay. One track per instrument, and you then just use key switches or expression maps or articulation IDs, and you swap about. Sort of. The problem with that is, and I had a really big go with articulation, with expression maps, and they work to a degree very well. But I found lots of problems with them. The main problem I found was, well, a number of problems. Either you buy commercial ones like the Babylon Waves ones, and the advantage of Babylon Wave stuff is they do every library known to mankind and some which are unknown to mankind as well. They're not always problem free, and I found quite a lot which didn't quite do what they were supposed to do. There's trombones which were missing the bottom octave, and others where if you try to look, there's so many articulations in the VSL lot that when you try to get the articulation, the expression map going, it just you couldn't see what was going on. I'll show you. I'll give you an example. So here's a brand spanking new instance of Synchron Player. We go into the Synchron connection. We go into what do you want? Okay, first violins Pro XF. Yeah, let's load that up. Okay, so there's each of these shorts has all those. Each of the longs has all those. So loads and loads and loads of articulations. Now we go into our expression map bit here at the side. We open the expression map setup. We go to load expression map. Then we go to all the Babylon Wave stuff. Oh my lord, look at all this stuff. Then we go to VSL. Then we go to Synchron Pro. Then first violins. Now you've got a choice of A. Can you see that? A, which means attitude, and that applies the articulation just to that specific note, or D, which is direction, which is a bit more like a key switch. If you load this one, I'll show you the problem. So we load it up, we go to the map, we set it up, there we are. Right, now we have this set up. Let's just put something in, just something simple. Let's now open up the thing and have a look. This is the problem. What you've got going on here, look, there's so many articulations that regardless of what you do, you can't actually read. Okay, so that is clear. You can't get your little pen out and draw your articulation. It's a particular problem with the direction ones, because with the attitude ones, you can actually select an individual note and then sort of through another menu select things. But you see the difficulty. Now, actually, VSL produce their own maps, which are significantly better. But well, it's not really. But look, okay. So here's the VSL version, and you can just about read. Even so, there are an awful lot of them, but you can at least just about read what the articulations are. The easier way to do this is if you go into where is it? Sorry, let's get the key editor. If you open a separate window with the key editor, so you can get a bit more space, now you can start to see things properly. And then all you do is you get your pen out and you go, whatever you want, multi vibrato, bronc, and you select your select the notes. If you're doing attitude, you do that, and then you go, we'll have flautando, and you do that. Now that works, and if you're going for attitude as opposed to direction, it'll have a little thing on each one, and that's great. That super works. But realistically, for expression maps or articulation IDs to work really well, you're going to have to use your own, or at the very least, you're going to have to customize those produced by either the sample manufacturer or Babylon or whoever. And it's a big investment of time. Now, there is an absolutely excellent Junkie XL video on how to do that. And I'm going to put a little thing up wherever it is, up there probably, which says a link to his video. We're talking about his own template, and it's really, really, really good. It's the best explanation I've ever seen. Well done, Tom. Now, suppose you don't want to spend the entire spring and half of the summer programming expression maps or trying to build a template. You just want to write music, don't you? Okay. Well, the way I would approach this is by using Keyswitches. It is still a viable way of doing it. And you can use... The reason I was saying right at the start, I want a long... Okay, let me just show you. Down the bottom here, let me just duplicate this twice. So we've got 3. So we're saying this is violins, okay? Now, sorry, it's really small down the bottom, isn't it? Can I zoom in at all? Let me have a little look. Oh no, that's up the top. Sort of down the bottom. No, it's not really down the bottom at all. What am I doing? Just pushing buttons at random. Here we go. Okay, look. So what we're going to do, tell you what I'm going to do is I'll close this project and open a new one and then show you why I do what I do. Okay, here is a brand spanking new empty template with nothing in it except 3 copies of Sine. Sine is the sample player from Orchestral Tools, and they produce the Berlin series, which is down here, where we got Tallinn, Berlin Brass, Berlin Strings, and Tom Hulkenberg's stuff up the top. So let's load up Tom's. Okay, so all his stuff is in one go. Look, we got the Marcato shorts, staccatos, legatos, and everything else. Now, I'm going to load 3 instances. I'm going to load an instance of this in here. Okay, now this one, actually, I could do this a better way, which is just to load legatos in this top one. I don't need all these others, so I could just delete them actually. Save some memory. The reason I want to put legatos in one, okay, that's one. So that's going to be French horn legato. And then just longs and shorts in the others, is what it allows you to do is A, balance them better in terms of the actual volume, but not just the volume, also we're looking at things like mic positions, because sometimes you actually want slightly different mic positions on your legatos than your shorts, for example, and you may well want to use track delay because the shorts all sound slightly late or something like that. That's fine. Okay, let's do that. Hang on, that's not fine. I got the wrong one there. Okay, so we want sustains, sustains soft, sforzando sustains, marcatos long. Let's do that. Let's put all those in one. Let's take that one out. Right, so then we got sustains in that instance. So those are French horn longs. Now, this is the minimum number of tracks I think you need in order to build the template, but it's also very quick. It's very quick and easy because you're only building 3 tracks per instrument, and then you're going to rely, you know, the payback time comes slightly later on. So then we're going to, okay, actually, why don't I just load the whole lot up and then delete the ones I don't want. And then the nice thing about Sine is you can assign your own, you can change all these key switches really easily, should you so wish to do so. So, okay, so we're going to take all these out. Right, okay, so there we go. So now we've got all the shorts and the effects in one, we got all the legatos and everything else in another, and it's all nice and straightforward. Let me just put on my headphones so I can hear the utter nonsense I'm playing. Okay, so let's... Okay. Let's get that one up. Let's see what's going on in there. Oh, I've done it in a weird way. Sorry. Let's delete those. Let's reload that. That wasn't very sensible. Here we go. Let's load the whole lot up again. And I'll just leave it all in for the timing. So sustains is C#6. Okay. So fairly straightforward. I select C#6 up here. C#6, that one. There we go. That and that will now, and now that gives me sustains. So at the beginning, I play my C#s. Okay, so that play that in. So it's a mini version of the separate tracks thing. But it's just much quicker to build, and you're just acknowledging the fact that you're either going to be using, what do we want? G6 is staccatissimo, so let's have some staccatissimo. Okay, so I'm going to go to G6 now, so I'll play in G6, which is way up there, so let's record, play in G6. Okay. Then drop back in. So you're only working over 3 tracks. So let's go with this. So after that staccato bit, we're going to go. The other advantage of having multiple tracks, I'll show you what the other advantage is. Hang on, let me just play this next bit. So what I actually want to do now is to add, I want to overlay a note over the front of this. So we're going to change to marcato long, which is E6. Now, one of the easier ways of doing it, well, there's no easy way of doing it. You can either play it in, but you can sort of do it a little bit like a key switch. You can go, so the staccatissimo is a G6. So we go up the top here and we'll find a G6 knocking about somewhere. G6, there it is, there's the G6, okay. And then we want an E6, which is down there. Okay, let's move that on, that little notey boaty. Notey boaty guy! You're not on children's television, for God's sake, what do you think you're doing? Okay, where's those now? Right, so let's then put it, where are we going to put it? Just before there, so it's going back a little bit. And we'll move it by quantize, and we'll have the quantize set for 64th, and then we go like this. So it's a bit fiddly, but okay. There we go, stick it. But I've taken to drawing in my key switches now, because it's just more accurate. So we're going to go, what we actually want to do, actually what I might do is I might just copy that down and blend them together, and then I'll get, okay, here we go, let's make sure it goes over the G6 thing. That's why you need to put your key switch nice and close to the beginning. Okay, so now what it's doing is it's playing the long sustain note and the marcato note, which are playing over the front. Now, if you just had one track, you couldn't do that, and it does make a difference. So that this, I think, is the quickest way of building a template that sounds any good. And you've got full control over all those, etc., etc., etc. So that's sort of what I'm experimenting with at the moment. I'm not sure that this is the complete answer, but it's one of the reasons which I sort of moved away from the huge template was not a logistical reason. It's just that it takes so much work to set it up. It always sounds the same, because you're always using more or less the same kind of string samples and everything else, and I just like this sort of freshness of starting from scratch. But starting from scratch also means humongous amounts of work, and as you'll see, I did a video before about are we done with templates and everything else, and I did this little experiment where I just started with absolutely nothing like this. Big mistake. You do need a template. You absolutely need a template, or you find you've got sort of sound whizzing all coming out coming out the desk. It's going, oh, what? Where's that French horn going? Oh my God! And it just takes forever. So you do need a template, but you don't want one which is so huge. There's swings and roundabouts, because as I'm saying that, I'm thinking actually, if I was going to do a mega grope hybrid thing with lots of synth and all the rest of it, I inevitably would end up with slaves and probably a big template. But what I'm really enjoying at the moment is being able to set up quick templates, so that I can experiment with a piece of music, a library, a selection of libraries, and it kind of works really well. And as you heard from the Christmas thing, and we'll play the Christmas thing in its entirety at the end, one more time, because it's just Synchron orchestra, 20 gigabytes, 200 tracks. Yeah, it took quite a long time to program, but I think it sounds as good to me as the stuff I used to produce out of 1500 tracks. So it might take 10-20% longer, because I've got to go in and faff about with key switches. But if you're wedded to, if you can put the time in to build your own articulation maps, I'd do that. I think the Junkie XL Tom Holkenberg thing is probably right. But look, If you were, I was about to say, I'm really sorry to go on about this geeky stuff, because if you're not interested in templates, this must have been very boring. Look, let's be real, Guy. If you're not interested in templates, you wouldn't still be here. Would you? Are you? You are? Why? Okay. I'll take your word for it. Look, that's all from today. I'd like to hear your views on what you think about all this. So type away. Don't be rude. Be nice. Stick it in the notes underneath. Comments, whatever they call them. And we'll be back with something fresh, interesting, and we've got lots of interesting things coming up. Lots of interesting things. So check out we do lots of courses and all that kind of stuff. There's free stuff you can download, all kinds of things. Check it out. It's underneath this little video. Okay? See you again very soon. Bye-bye.